Much later in international news, Pope Francis buried at Santa Maria Basilica following his funeral in the Vatican. We're live also on all our social media platforms at TV3 Ghana. Please do well to like our page and leave a comment. We'll be glad to share them with the rest of the world. Welcome to the program. Let's begin the bulletin from here.
The war on narcotics is intensifying, with security agencies having intercepted hundreds of kilos of cocaine and heroin over the past few weeks. As authorities ramp up efforts to dismantle drug networks, questions remain about transparency and public accountability. But the Narcotics Control Commission, NACOC, insists a new wave of enforcement is underway aimed at stopping Ghana from becoming a drug transit hub. Here's a news desk report.
On March 4, 2025, the National Intelligence Bureau seized approximately 120 slabs of cocaine with an estimated street value of $150 million on the Takoradi Cape Coast Highway. The drugs were found concealed and transported in a truck wrapped in green plastic bags. On Tuesday, March 18, 2025, Narcotics Control Commission (NACOC) arrested 56-year-old Nigerian Uche Chukwu Chima at Oyarifa, a suburb of Accra. The suspected narcotic substances included 192 kg of cocaine and 0.42 kg of heroin, estimated at over $2 million United States dollars. Then on Wednesday, April 23, 4 individuals were arrested following the interception of a cargo shipment containing suspected cocaine by the Narcotics Control Commission. The operation uncovered 73 slabs of a concealed substance believed to be cocaine. Despite concerns by some Ghanaians about the country becoming a transit hub for illegal drugs, Deputy Director General of the Narcotics Control Commission, NACOC, in charge of enforcement, control and elimination, Alexander Chumberima, says the new leadership at NACOC is working hard to arrest drug barons in Ghana.
The fact that we are able to arrest you is a confirmation that we are working, and that is the simplest definition I always give to these things. That it tells you that now there's a new crop of leadership at NACOC, and those leadership are seriously working.
Meanwhile, a private legal practitioner and member of the National Democratic Congress, Abraham Amaliba, has called on authorities to let the public know how intercepted drugs are disposed of.
What we can do is to commend them. But I also agree with those who say, where are these drugs after you seize them? I agree. I think that they need to come and tell us how these drugs are being disposed of. Because I've not seen them burning anything anywhere. In recent times, I have seen, or you have realized, that the state security agents are doing so much work to bust these drug barons.
Convener of the One Ghana movement, Senor Hosi, called for extra vigilance to ensure that the intercepted cocaine does not find its way onto the streets of Ghana.
People will not just stand up and in one morning start bringing major volumes like this. It tells you that they have a structure and a system, a network, a support system that gives them grounds to believe they can continue to do what they are doing. And tells us that this thing is not something that is happening now. It's something that has been nurtured from the past.
Security agencies have intensified their efforts to prevent the country from being used to convey illegal drugs.
To some legal affairs tonight, President of the Ghana Bar Association, Kquasari, has called on members to spearhead proposals for guidelines on the formulation of rules of procedure for the impeachment of Article 71 office holders. Her comments come in the wake of uncertainty surrounding the suspension of Chief Justice Gertrude Tokonu pending investigations after a prima facie case was established in the petitions calling for her removal.
Speaking at the media conference of the Ghana Bar Association, President Kquasari emphasized that the timing of guidelines is paramount, especially as the country faces the unprecedented situation of the possible removal of the Chief Justice from office. The GBA president further urged lawyers to educate the public and offer informed commentary to enhance understanding of the impeachment process.
We, the bar, must continue to monitor the situation and not hesitate to express our opinion on it where the circumstances demand. It is important that in such matters, justice is not only done, but manifestly be seen to have been done. It is about time that these guidelines were produced in order to eliminate arbitrariness in such proceedings, which ought to be held expeditiously and possibly in open court, given the necessary publicity such matters attract.
A former Deputy Attorney General and Minister for Justice, Diana Asunabadapa, expressed dissatisfaction with the committee investigating the petitions calling for the removal of the Chief Justice.
The Constitution itself guides us on how the exercise of the discretion should be. So I say, let's situate the conversation well, let's healthily have this conversation. My opinion, and I've advanced that this morning, is that there could not have been the determination of a prima facie, based on what we all know. And there was not the proper, in other words, if you didn't exercise that discretion properly in accordance with the Constitution, then you have acted unconstitutionally.
Meanwhile, some members of the Ghana Bar Association voiced concerns over a directive by the acting Chief Justice requiring all filed cases to be brought to his attention for reassignment. During an open forum at the conference, several lawyers described the move as retrogressive and said it could hinder their work, especially since an electronic system already exists to handle such matters. However, the GBA president assured members that the association would engage with the Chief Justice after assessing the proposed system over a period. The conference was on the theme, expanding the role of the legal professional in national development, positioning the GBA as the fulcrum.
Meanwhile, Ghana's judiciary is at the center of a growing controversy. The suspension of the Chief Justice has sparked intense debate and scrutiny. In this explainer, Judith Brown details the unprecedented move and its potential implications for the nation's legal system.
In an unprecedented move that has sent ripples through Ghana's legal and political landscape, President John Dramani Mahama has suspended Chief Justice Gertrude Torkornoo. This marks the first time in Ghana's judicial history that a sitting Chief Justice has been suspended in the Fourth Republic. Prior to this, a majority of previous Chief Justices since 1992 had a petition against them which was dismissed for one reason or the other. This decision, announced on April 22, 2025, follows the submission of 3 undisclosed petitions against Gertrude Torkornoo. After receiving the Chief Justice's response, the Council of State determined a prima facie case, and acting upon the advice of the Council of State, the President suspended the Chief Justice and formed a committee to investigate the allegations. But this is not the first time Justice Torkornoo has faced scrutiny over her administrative decisions. After her appointment as Chief Justice in June 2023, a petition filed by Professor Stephen Kquasari in December 2024 alleged that she had undermined the judicial appointment process by requesting the then President, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, to appoint specific judges and then presenting these nominees to the Judicial Council for approval. The petition also accused her of interfering with duly constituted panels without providing explanations or public interest reasons. However, then President Akufo-Addo dismissed the petition, stating it lacked sufficient evidence and that the allegations were unsupported by credible documentations. And so the suspension of Chief Justice Torkornoo now has sparked a wave of reactions from various sectors of the Ghanaian society. The Ghana Bar Association, GBA, has expressed concern over the potential implications for judicial independence. In a statement, the GBA emphasized the need for a fair and transparent process, warning against actions that could undermine the credibility of the judiciary. For the minority caucus in Parliament, they labeled the suspension as a politically motivated one, arguing that the President is only in the process of packing the courts with party-sympathetic justices.
Any attempt to pack The judiciary with politically compliant judges will be challenged to the fullest extent of the law. Women, please take note. Do not sleep for your mama to redirect state institutions under his cloak. Women, it is your time to rise up. We are asking that any attempt by President Mama to pack the judiciary with politically compliant judges should be challenged, and we are going to challenge same.
An MP for Otafo, Vincent Asefo, has brought in action in the Supreme Court seeking to injunct the CJ's suspension. Civil society organizations, including Feather Ghana, have called for a transparent and impartial investigation into these allegations. They stress the importance of upholding the rule of law and ensuring that any actions taken are in the best interests of the public. The 1992 Constitution is clear on how the Chief Justice or any Justice of the Supreme Court can be removed from office. In Article 146 of the 1992 Constitution, it sets out the procedure for the suspension or removal of judicial officers. It requires that any such action be grounded in due process with the formation of a committee that is empowered to investigate allegations thoroughly. And as far as the presidency is concerned, all processes were duly followed.
Article 146(10) of the Constitution empowers the president to suspend the Chief Justice for the duration of the work of the committee up until such time that they make recommendations to the president on what further step to take. So you find that everything the president has done has been grounded in the Constitution, Article 146, and its various provisions. This is exactly what has transpired since the tendency of these petitions.
Now, as the committee begins its investigation, the nation watches closely. The outcome of this process will have far-reaching implications on Ghana's judiciary. The suspension of Chief Justice Gertrude Isaba Tokonu is not just a legal matter. It is a pivotal moment in the ongoing journey in Ghana's democracy. Will Ghana's judiciary emerge from this stronger and more independent? Well, only time will tell.
Well, adding to the conversation, a fellow in public law and justice at the Center for Democratic Development Ghana, Professor Kquasari, whose petition last year for the removal of the Chief Justice was dismissed, has criticized former President Kufuor's handling of the matter. Speaking on the key point, Professor Sari said the then president, in his prima facie determination, dismissed the petition without proper investigations.
Not the job of the president to act as an adjudicator, as he sought to do, telling the world that I didn't understand the Constitution, and becoming the defense attorney for the Chief Justice. That was very wrong, and at the time there was not a whole lot of noise about how wrong it was, but it was very wrong. And you know, when I filed the petition, many media people tried to call me to come on air, and I refused because I respected the privacy of the proceedings as articulated in by Dateba in the Ajay Chun case. So this is the first time that I'm actually coming on TV to say something about this petition, which I thought was poorly handled. Now, you talk about my petition did not have evidence and so on. This is false. I not only had facts, but I provided dates, events, and I also indicated witnesses that I was going to bring along during the inquiry phase to substantiate the allegations that I was making. Because when you submit a petition to a president, you are not attaching evidence, because the president is not a trier of fact. You are submitting enough to let the president decide whether or not there's enough in there to push the matter to a body that can inquire into it. Okay, so when I come in there and I say, look, the Chief Justice, and before I even say that, let me acknowledge that, look, the removal of a Chief Justice is a grave matter. I certainly will never be part of any attempt to remove a Chief Justice.
Well, turning from legal battles to political admissions, presidential candidate of the New Patriotic Party, Dr. Bawumia, in the 2024 elections, has admitted that the NPP administration failed to heed the advice of Ghanaians. He was addressing party supporters in Takoradi as part of a thank you tour in the Western region. Dr. Bawumia cited factors including arrogance of power and the high cost of living for their defeat.
The former Vice President and 2024 MPP presidential candidate Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia stated that the party has learned the hard way. Dr. Bawumia, in his address, outlined several factors that contributed to the party's defeat in the 2024 general elections, including the rising cost of living.
All the studies are so far. The big issues are one, cost of living. Niema po Kquasari, ahokyere ebai. The economy idea yefreno arrogance of power. Arrogance of power.
The 2024 presidential aspirant of the opposition New Patriotic Party, NPP, Kennedy Japan, called on the party to grant amnesty to all suspended party executives as part of its reconciliation and healing process. He urged that the humiliating defeat the party suffered in the 2024 elections was partly due to the poor handling of disciplinary actions against some party officials. In his view, many of the suspended members, including Paul Afoko and Alan Chamantin, should be recalled to the party.
I will stand on behalf of the NPP party to apologize to everybody that NPP has offended.
Well, let's hear what experts are saying. Dr. Samuel Frimpong is a political analyst joining us to share his perspectives also on the subject. Doc, thank you for making time for us. The factors Dr. Bawumia mentioned, including arrogance of power, the high cost of living, the failure to reshuffle government officials. My question is, you're not surprised that they are now publicly admitting it, are you?
And just to your viewers, you know, the MPP defeat in 2024, I think most of the reasons, I think the former vice president has access to the document that was presented. So mostly he may have certain kind of information. And I think what is enumerating, cost of living and arrogance of power, and I think cost of living was one of the major decider of the Ghanaian voter, you know, and I think the NDC took advantage of it and made it a key in the determinants of the elections in the 2024. But the arrogance of power, you know, these elections, I don't know, but these politicians, when they get onto power for a while, they tend to, I use the word, to misbehave. They tend to think that they are all in all. They tend to decide for themselves and neglecting the concerns of the Ghanaian. And that is what happened to the MPP. And it was so serious in the MPP time that people were yearning, as he mentioned, about the e-levy, reshuffling debts, restructuring NAPO issues. That was the kind of attitude that the MPP posed to Ghanaians. And that was unfortunate. And you know, it is one of the things that sometimes these politicians, you can't just understand them. But you know, another thing that we also have to look at is the intra-party issues, you know. It was also a major concern that they overlooked at it. And for the past 8 years that they were in power, I think the party was confused in terms of their unity of purpose, because people that were supposed to be part of the agenda, intimidation, victimization, was part of the key intra-party. Within the party, that was what happened for the MPP. So I think they have to go back, and I think that is the agenda that they are pursuing. But as I've been saying about your platform sometime, the thank you tour, I believe that it's supposed to be an apology tour to tell their members that they are sorry and they have to go back to the drawing board to work hard to come back to 2028.
Doc, picking up from where you left, a former presidential aspirant, Kennedy Japan, he is calling for amnesty for suspended executives and members of the party. I'm sure you think this is a right call going forward, but how should they go about it?
You know, this, I don't know whether it's what the party stand or it was his own evolution trying to appeal to the national executives for them to consider. You know, it's not easy when you want to give amnesty, or let's say for people who have defected the party, whether it was through a right procedure, a right process, at the same time, whether those people also feel remorse to come back of what they intend to do. These are things that need to be considered. So it tells us that the party was having a problem of reconciliatory in terms of issues involving the party and other members. And that is a major thing that people are being seen as not appreciating what the party has done for them. And, you know, this thing has to stop. If not, it will affect the party. So I don't know whether the timing was right, because it was a tour and maybe it was an own evolution to tell the party to suggest that they should consider. And I think it should be considered on not a general platform, but, you know, it should be a concern for people who are ready to rejoin the party, because when someone has still an issue and is not being considered, is not being engaged, whether the person is ready to join the party or not, then you can't force people and just give an amnesty for anyone to come and join. But I think there should be some kind of a committee or something that has to be instituted to work on that agenda. And I think it can also work well for some members who think that they can rejoin the party for the 2028 election.
Doc, before you take leave of us, Alan Chemante was mentioned as amongst the people who have left the party, and that the party is trying to bring everybody else together. Is it something that can happen easily? And, you know, these people have followings as well. Alan Chemante, he left the party, formed the Movement for Change. How will he, if you like, abandon the Movement for Change and then go back to the NPP, and what will it say for him in his quest to be president of the nation as well as his supporters?
You know, in politics, anything is possible. Everything is possible. Even you can realize that our late President Rawlings was, you know, there was an enmity between him and President Nanado, and later I realized that they were very close. So in politics, anything can happen. And I believe that when they engage him, you know, it's and also about numbers and also about followers as well. No matter what, he's a founding member of the party, and if they can engage him and accept some of these things and also come back, I think that there's nothing wrong. It's possible, and I think they can work on that as well.
Dr. Afriyie, thank you so much for your time and your perspectives. We've been speaking with Dr. Samuel Frimpong. He's a political analyst. Let's do some other stories tonight.
Ghanaian students studying in Hungary are facing a severe financial crisis with months of unpaid stipends. According to the students, this persistent financial neglect has resulted in a crisis that jeopardizes their education, well-being and future chances. Here to report by Judith Brown.
For 11 whole months, students studying in Hungary have not received their stipends. Book allowances have also delayed for the past 2 years. And with little to no jobs available, most students are at a crossroads.
This has caused a lot of financial hardships to our students, to the extent that some students face evictions from their hostels and apartments because they cannot afford accommodation. We, the executives, have to go to the extent of accommodating some of these students for a while and then later find some solution for them. But as you can see, we ourselves are also facing the same financial situation, but cannot help in that much.
I'm not able to focus on my academics, and it's having a toll on my mental health. Accommodation here is really expensive, the hike of prices of food. For me to get the basic needs is one challenge or the other.
The delayed stipend payments have made it nearly impossible for many students to cater for expenses as basic as food and utilities. And with rent costs almost triple the cost of rent allowances received from the Hungarian government, many now find themselves in a state of uncertainty and at serious risk of homelessness.
Most of the schools here in Hungary, when you are coming, most are not able to get accommodation for students. Students end up going to rent outside. If you are supposed to rent outside, most of the places cost much more, sometimes 3 times the amount the government give us. The 40,000 we get from the Hungarian government is something very small, because most often or not we have to pay 3 times the amount that we get.
According to the students, several engagements with previous government officials yielded no results, putting them in severe financial distress, academic challenges and psychological strain.
Students are not able to feed. Sometimes we go to the hospital. You know, when we are coming here, we get insurance. But the insurance we get here is almost like the insurance we have in Ghana, the NHIS. The insurance covers, I've been to the hospital. I've been to the hospital like 4 times. But the insurance we have here covers like only consultation. You have to pay for all the medicines you buy.
We urge the government of Ghana to prioritize the release of 11 months outstanding stipends and 2 years book allowance payments to ensure students can meet their basic needs and continue their education without further interruptions.
We reached out to officials at the Ghana Scholarship Secretariat who are in charge of these disbursements. Although they did not speak on record, they explained they are in talks with the Hungarian government and students studying in Hungary to rectify the situation. They say allocations will soon be made to the students. This is a worrying trend across other countries where Ghanaian students under government scholarship are left stranded, either having one or the other of their fees not being paid. It begs the question as to whether the Scholarship Secretariat really has the means to fund the scholarships they grant. Judith Brown, TV3 News.
Away from that, the Parliamentary Select Committee on Health has expressed satisfaction with the operations of the Whole Teaching Hospital in the Volta region. The committee, after a working visit to the facility on Friday, observed with excitement the level of innovation and initiatives being undertaken by management of the hospital to improve service delivery, and urged other government health facilities to emulate same. Correspondent Faisal Abdul Idrisu has more in this report.
The committee's visit to the Whole Teaching Hospital on Friday forms part of a nationwide tour to assess the state of all regional hospitals and to collect the necessary data which will feed into government's broader plan to improve healthcare delivery across the country. The committee, after its tour of the various departments of the hospital, expressed satisfaction with the hospital's management of its IGF and urged other public health facilities to emulate the same.
Much impressed. It appears the last 2 hospitals we have been to, even I can say the 4, are doing fairly very well. They have been able to use the meager IGF they are generating to put up very wonderful infrastructure and carry out programs that will bring about improvement in the lives or in the services they deliver to patients in this community and beyond. They have also invested into research. Even last year, they published 21 peer-reviewed articles. That differentiates them from what we call the normal regional hospitals. This is really a teaching hospital, and that is what they should be doing. Their main challenges are human resource, the staff. But we have noted that they are financing 50-something specialists currently in the College of Surgeons and Physicians to graduate and come back and help the facility. They have used their internally generated fund to put up a psychiatric consultant department. They are putting up a 24-hour pharmacy, a very beautiful one. They've built the family health administration with their own IGF. They have used their own IGF to put up a dialysis center for the hospital and many more. This, we actually applaud them for it. This is a very good example they are setting, and will encourage other hospitals to emulate same.
Chief Executive Officer of the hospital, Dr. John Tampuri, in his remarks, called for a robust policy framework for tertiary healthcare delivery in the country. He also appealed to government to support the hospital in its efforts to expand and also make the Whole Teaching Hospital a hub for health tourism.
This is the time for stakeholders to sit down and look at it and develop a policy that will help develop the healthcare, tertiary healthcare in this country. Because when it's defined, then you know the kind of equipment you need, the kind of human resource you need, and the kind of infrastructure you need to be able to do it. And for us, as is being planned to go into health tourism, all these things are very crucial. And even we need to have policy on the health tourism itself. And then, like people suggest, they should involve the Ministry of Health, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and
now, as the rainy season approaches, anxiety is rising among residents of the Shama municipality. Residents fear the devastating impact of floods and landslides. With memories of past disasters still fresh, they are sounding the alarm, urging authorities to act swiftly to protect lives and property before the first heavy downpour. Here's a report by Stephen Kujo.
Behind me is Shama Beach Road, a suburb of Shama within the Shama municipality. This community is no stranger to flooding. Whenever it rains, gutters quickly overflow as the roads turn into river. Whenever it rains, residents are compelled to leave their homes or are to stay behind to protect their properties by fighting the rising waters as the entire area is submerged. Now with the rains coming in, fear is creeping back in as residents are unsure what the next downpour will cause.
When I was in level 100, I experienced flood issues in my area where my laptop, my mother's store all got flooded. Yeah, so other people also had same experience. And so I think that was 2018. Until now, we've not found any solutions to it.
Whenever it rains, not just Beach Road get flooded, but also communities like in Chaban, Shama, Kquasari, Petrosol, and in Kquasari get submerged, with the main causes largely attributed to choked gutters, narrow drains, and buildings constructed on waterways. In response, the Shama Municipal Assembly has started a major desilting exercise in key flood-prone areas to reduce the risk and protect lives before the raining season begins.
Now we have even started some of the communities already. We have this desilted Shama, part of Shama, Shama Junction, Kufuiku. Now the areas that are very serious are Kufuiku, Shama Junction, and then Trabai. Those areas we are going to tackle them seriously.
The Shama Municipal NADMO directed on their part says their team is prepared for the rainy season, citing ongoing efforts to trim big tree branches and assessing vulnerable buildings as part of their disaster prevention effort.
As a project, so we went around, identify the various weak buildings, engage the owner, the need for them to maintain or to pull down the weak structures, because we have had some examples that due to the collapse of weak buildings, we had to lost. So we are not to repeat that incident again.
With heavy rains expected in the weeks ahead, residents of Shama hope these steps will be enough to prevent another disaster. Stephen Kujo, TV3 News, Shama.
Now, 29 loyal, lucky customers of Petrosol have won big in the grand finale of Petrosol's nationwide Energizing Dreams promotion. The Northern Sector Grand Finale event, which took place in Wa, is targeted at giving back to loyal customers who have supported the brand over the past periods. Reported by Ibrahim Wangara.
The Petrosol Grand Finale promo draw for the Northern Sector saw 29 loyal customers win various prizes, including tricycles, motorcycles, fridges, TVs, fuel vouchers, and a Suzuki Petrosol vehicle as the ultimate award. The promo pack, which comes in a grand style, also saw in attendance Petrosol dealers across the Northern Belt and regulatory bodies, including the Environmental Protection Agency. Chief Executive Officer of Petrosol, Michael Buzumbil, while sharing insight into the promo, said the company spent over 3 million cedis on customers in just 6 months.
A brand that started, as a small company over 10 years ago, growing organically, step by step, and not rushing, committing to best practice, making sure we deliver clean fuel, quality lubricants. We commit to our obligations in terms of payments. Over this past 6 months, we have invested about 3 million Ghana cedis, just in our customers, and it's been back to back.
The Executive Secretary of the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers, COPEC, Duncan Amwa, said Petrosol remains a reliable brand which serves its customers with clean, quality oil, and that customers should expect fuel prices to decrease today, starting from Petrosol.
Indeed, fuel prices are going to go down today, and they're starting here. If you have one of the trusted brands, indigenous Ghanaian companies that have lived to their reputation over the years, you don't feel bad associating with them. And so when they say they are rewarding the consumer, I am obliged to be here.
Also, staff of Reckitt, producers and marketers of Morton insecticide spray, have collaborated with residents of Jamestown to clean up the environment. The initiative forms part of activities marking World Malaria Day.
World Malaria Day is observed globally on April 25 to recognize efforts made in controlling malaria. Globally, 3.3 billion people across 106 countries are at risk of malaria. Ghana has made significant progress regarding malaria control over the years. Deaths due to malaria reduced from 2,799 in 2012 to 151 in 2022. Despite the achievements, malaria remains a significant public health concern in Ghana. Staff of Reckitt, producers and marketers of Morton and insect repellent were in Jamestown, Accra, to raise awareness and promote environmental cleanliness by collaborating with locals to tidy up the area. Gutters and stagnant water sources, known breeding grounds for mosquitoes, were cleared.
Cleanliness is next to godliness. Keeping your environment clean will prevent you from contracting malaria through the biting of mosquitoes. Why would we want to contract the disease when it's preventable by keeping ourselves clean? So I will entreat everybody to go through this campaign as an opportunity to keep the environment clean. Very, very important. And also make sure they use Morton.
Business Development Manager of Reckitt Ghana, Henry Ni Ankra, emphasized that in instances where communities become overwhelmed by mosquitoes breeding in stagnant waters, Morton serves as an effective solution to prevent malaria.
We say that for Morton, although we want to prevent the malaria and the breeding of the mosquitoes, even if the mosquitoes come around, our purpose is to make sure that Morton kills the mosquitoes. So for Morton, you can get in every neighborhood store that you go into. Every neighborhood store, in the supermarkets around, in the Melcoms, in the ShopRites, in the Palace, in the Marina Malls, you can everywhere. And even in your neighborhood store, wherever they sell a mosquito spray, you can get that.
He further noted that Morton is also effective against rodents, cockroaches and other crawling pests. Assemblyman for the area, Festus Ni Ayi, outlined some sustainable measures being put in place to maintain cleanliness in the community.
Dumping in gutters, indiscriminate waste management and all that is really a challenge here. But that is what we are trying to do, to ensure that people would minimize it, and then in the long run, we'll totally change the behavioral pattern of the people to ensure that dumping in gutters and all that are stopped.
Filth and waste removed from gutters were properly collected and disposed of.
This is News 360 live on our social media platforms at TV3 Ghana. Going for a break. We're back with more stories. Please stay with us.
Thank you for staying with us on News 360. Bill Ashen is joining us with some sports news. Bill, welcome.
Hello.
What's going on in the world of sports?
Today, we have a very packed schedule. A lot of things have been happening, including that of our GFA president, who has now been named the second vice of CAF.
Wow.
Big jump.
Give us the details then.
Of course, but first, let's start with a breaking story just came in from Morocco. Now, Gilbert Ampia, a 17-year-old para-athlete from St. Augustine's College, has clinched a bronze medal in the high jump T44 category at the prestigious Crown Prince Moulay El Hassan International Para-Athletics meeting in Marrakesh, Morocco. With an impressive jump of 1.73 meters, Gilbert secured his first international medal, a remarkable testament to his dedication, hard work, and perseverance. In 2023, physically challenged high jumper Gilbert conquered able-bodied children in the heart of the Kumfiatra, recording a personal best of 1.60 meters. Now, 3 Sports first told that story that year, and his personal best now is 1.82 meters. And there's also some good news for Ghana in football. The president of Ghana Football Association, Kurt Okraku, has been appointed second vice president of the Confederation of African Football, that is CAF. Now, his appointment was first announced by CAF President Dr. Patrice Motsepe during a press conference in Accra on Saturday. My colleague Kquasari has all the details.
Earlier on Saturday, the Confederation of African Football held an executive committee meeting. At this meeting, the president of the association, Patrice Motsepe, used that as an opportunity to name new leadership for the association, including 5 new vice presidents. Ghana's Edwin Simeon Okerkum has also been elected as the second vice president of the association. Remember that he's the second Ghanaian to have occupied that position after Kwesi Nyantakyi.
Our brother Kurt, who is president of football here. is the second vice president of CAF.
So Ghanaians will be hoping that with this position that Kquasari currently occupies, Ghana football will progress.
Still on Kquasari Okraku, here are some reactions from the CAF press conference on his latest appointment.
Across the continent, most specifically the FA president, have some sort of confidence in Kquasari Okraku, and they believe he can fight for the interest of West Africa when he's elevated to that level. So I think it's a very good decision by the CAF president.
The last time we had Kquasari get to that level, we all knew the attention that we had as a country in the footballing space. So I feel it goes in the right direction, and of course it follows CAF's vision of developing grassroots football, which we are all hoping it yields positive results with the breakdown of, for example, our national teams, with the investment in women's football and what have you. I feel it sits in that right direction.
Big congratulations to Kquasari Edwin Simeon Okraku, now the second vice president of the Confederation of African Football. Moving on, Ghana's under-15 girls team made history at the 2025 African Schools Championship, beating Uganda's under-15 by 2-0 in the final. In the boys division, Ghana also came back from a goal down to beat Uganda under-15 by 2-1 to win bronze. Andrew Sifat Banfo has been covering the tournament and filed this report.
To savour, a moment to remember, a lifetime opportunity for these young ones. This initiative by CAF is beginning to bear fruit. We have already seen examples of it, and we continue to see it. Tanzania have reclaimed their title after beating Senegal on penalties to win the competition. For the girls edition, Team Ghana managed to put smiles on the faces of all who gathered here at the University of Ghana Stadium in the ongoing African Schools Football Championship, as they did win their game against Uganda by 2-0. Ghana also did manage to win the bronze medal in the boys category after winning their game against Uganda, fighting from behind to win by 2-1. Even the rain could not stop the excitement here at the University of Ghana Stadium. This is the first time, remember, that Ghana is hosting this competition, and at the very first time of asking, the country have managed to do Ghana proud. For the girls, they managed gold, and for the boys, they managed bronze. In attendance was the CAF president, Dr. Patrice Motsepe, and also the president of the land, John Dramani Mahama, who were all here to see the amazing talent, the abundant talent showcased here in Ghana. For the boys category, we had John Ando, who had already scored 2 goals in the tournament, being named as the best player, and then also we saw other talents being awarded accordingly. The best player of the tournament went to Fai of Senegal for his brilliant contribution. His all-round play saw him rewarded. But at the moment, it's just Tanzania who will be basking in all the glory after winning the CAF African Schools Championship. Andrew Sefabanfo from the University of Ghana Stadium for 3 Sports.
That was a report by Andrew Sefabanfo. Staying in Ghana, Richard Akpokavi has been elected the new president of the Ghana Olympic Committee in an election that concluded earlier on Saturday. Akpokavi polled 44 votes to beat off his competition. That is from Michael Agri, who earned 19 votes. Speaking to 3 Sports, Akpokavi was happy with his latest achievements.
Just thank God for his mercies. Athlete welfare and empowerment. Athletes' voices must be heard. They must be involved in our decision-making process. In terms of the board, Congress, committees, we must be more united, speak with one voice. We must plan, have a strategic plan for the next 4 years. What do we want to do, and how do we, as it were, implement what we want to do? We must build the capacity of women, get more women involved in the federation leadership, and then we must also safeguard and protect the women from all kinds of issues.
Now let's take a look at Mr. Akpokavi's previous post before heading the GOC. Now, he was vice president of Ghana's Hockey Association from 2007 to 2014, also the president of the same association in 2014 to 2018, a member of the International Hockey Federation Rules Board 2010 to 2012, a member of the FIH Development and Coaching Committee 2004 to 2012. There's also some other post that he's managed: Continental Hockey Development Officer for Africa 2007 to 2012, GFA chairman of the disciplinary committee from 2005 to 2015, the chair of African Hockey Federation Officials Committee since 2016, GOC General Secretary from 2017 to 2021, and is now the new Ghana Olympic Committee President. Now let's move on to Europe, where Chelsea have temporarily moved into a Champions League slot after Nicholas Jackson's lone goal ensured they win over Everton. At the St. James's Park, Newcastle made light work of Ipswich, winning by 3-0. The result now means that Ipswich, Leicester City and Southampton have all been relegated back to the Championship. Name is Belisha, and Entertainment is up next.
In entertainment news this evening, the principal research officer at the Copyright Office, Ayisha, has encouraged creatives to assert their rights if their works are used without consent or acknowledgement. He emphasized that Ghanaian laws protect the rights of owners and urged them to seek legal recourse when necessary.
Around the world, April 26 is observed annually as World Intellectual Property Day. This day is dedicated to raising awareness about the importance of intellectual property rights in promoting creativity and innovation. The day is to also celebrate the contributions of creators, inventors, entrepreneurs, and to explore how intellectual property supports a better future. More recently, the Ghanaian creative arts ecosystem has witnessed lawsuits relating to the violation of copyright works. Ghanaian a cappella group Alabaster Box a fortnight ago sued rapper Medical for using a portion of their Aquaba song without their approval. Welcome, the group had indicated that the first 10 seconds of Medical's latest tune, Welcome to Africa, is a reproduction of the song. The principal research officer at the Copyright Office, Ayisha, expressed worry over the disregard given the intellectual property of creatives.
We need precedent. We need more people to be punished for violation of copyright works. So when you have that, people will always take precautions not to do that.
He urged stakeholders to respect intellectual property rights in order to encourage investment and creativity in Ghana's creative industries.
Intellectual properties, we have to consider them as any other property, like the phone you have, like the land or a car. If you park your car, nobody can drive it without your permission, because if he does, then he will label as a thief. So if you are a TV station, you've taken somebody's film and you want to air it, you need to talk to the person for permission, and the permission he can decide to say, okay, you can go ahead to use it, or he can say pay this X amount.
Ayisha charged creators to enforce their rights if the works are used without consent or acknowledgement.
Copyright works are private rights. It is the individual who's supposed to enforce the right. But we have mediation because when there's infringement, if you are able to use the mediation system to solve it, they can do business together. But as the case gets to court, they may not have a relationship again. And we want the relationship to continue so that the users can get what they want and the creators can also get money for whatever they've created.
Still in entertainment, the National Film Authority has expressed worry about the increasing unauthorized use and broadcast of creative content on various Ghanaian television stations. According to the regulatory body, the practice violates copyright laws, threatens the integrity and sustainability of the country's creative ecosystem, and discourage investment in Ghana's creative industries. In a statement, the authority reminded all TV stations that the Copyright Act 2005, Act 690, and other applicable laws states that any public performance or broadcast of copyrighted content without the rights holder's permission is illegal and punishable by law. The national regulator of the film and audiovisual sector called on all broadcasters to regularize all content by securing appropriate licensing agreements with copyright owners in respect to intellectual property rights and uphold ethical broadcasting standards. It also urged all television stations and media platforms to license content legally, fairly, and compensate creators and partner in building a thriving and lawful creative industry. Let's bring you some international news now.
We begin from the Vatican, where Pope Francis has been buried at Santa Maria Maggiore Basilica following his funeral in the Vatican. Cardinal Giovanni Battista Re, who led the funeral service, said Pope Francis touched minds and hearts and wanted to build bridges, not walls. Dozens of leaders and dignitaries, including Donald Trump, Vladimir Zelensky, and Prince William, joined an estimated 400,000 mourners who lined the streets of Rome and gathered inside St. Peter's Square itself. U.S. President Donald Trump and his Ukraine counterpart Zelensky met inside St. Peter's Basilica before the funeral as part of peace efforts the U.S. is trying to broker. To the war in Ukraine, and Kyiv has denied Russian claims that it has been forced out of Russia's Kursk region. Chief of Staff of Russia's military, Valery Gerasimov, said his forces had regained full control of the region 8 months after Ukraine forces first launched a surprise incursion into the border region. Ukraine says its troops are still conducting operations in Kursk, with the military describing Russia's claims as propaganda tricks. Ukraine forces have been in retreat in Kursk in recent months, facing 70,000 Russian troops and heavy drone attacks as part of Russia's drive to regain the territory.
Well, that's it for the hour's bulletin. But as always, there's more news on our website, 3news.com. Please do log on for more. I am Noble Crosby Annan.
And I am Ayisha Yakubu. Have a good evening.
Goodbye.